Hi guys, my name is Parnali. Just a moment. I think there's some problem with the mic. Hi guys. Think we are live. Okay, we are live. That's great. Alright. So guys, today we'll have a look at a pawn chain game and a game by Tal Mikhail. Tal Mikhail is my favorite player, so that's why we'll have a look at his game. Hello Parshuram. Just a second guys. Okay. A moment guys. Okay. Hello Jaykant. So we are having a look at a game that was played in Chess Olympiad in Tromsø, Norway in 2014. So it was played between George Masana and Lunga Mavuso. Thank you Jaykant. Sure. We'll see that game tomorrow. But today we'll see, after this game we'll see a game of Tal which he won, and tomorrow we'll see a game where Tal lost. And guys, this game was suggested by Avdut. So let's have a look at it. George Masana versus Lunga Mavuso. So the rating of players is not that great, like it's around 2180, and I'm not sure what is the rating of the other player because I think he was lower rated. d4 was played, d5, knight f3, e6, e3, knight f6, bishop d3. So this is normal opening. Hello Soham. Bishop e7. Guys, you will see a huge pawn chain in this game, and you will know why I called this game a pawn chain game. So castles, and now b3 was played. So the idea here is just to develop the bishop from here, and you're not making c4 move right now because you're just waiting for your opponent to decide if he wants to play c6 or c5, and depending on that you will play c4 or c3. Parshuram, let's see. I hope I kind of support Carlsen, so let's see what happens. Hello Ganesh. Hello. So he also plays b6. He is basically repeating the moves, and it is a very common practice sometimes that if you don't know the theory, then just repeat what your opponent is playing and you won't at least be in trouble. And like at least the piece position will be similar, so you won't really be in much of trouble. And now knight b d2 is played. He played bishop b7, bishop b2, and the only difference in the position is the position of the bishops. So the bishop has better prospects on d3 diagonal, and this bishop is it's not doing much because usually bishop is kept on e7 when there's a threat of bishop g5 and there is a pin here. But since it's not there, I think the bishop on e7 should be improved, and it's not doing much. Hello Avdut. Knight e5 is played, and now bishop d6. So finally he realizes that bishop on e7 was not really helping him, and he plays bishop d6. And now f4. I'm sure, I think Sahil showed you some similar structure, like something similar he showed you, I think. I'm not sure. And now knight e4 was played. Okay. And now queen e2. So I'm just going through the moves because it's a normal opening and players are just playing, like there's no theory here. Hello Harshal. So there's not really a specific theory, but this is like a plan that you can follow in the opening. Like you just need to know a plan here, and you can just maybe have different move orders and just execute it. So it's a very typical plan, like maybe you can get the rook here, get the knight here, maybe play c4 later on, but c4 can be really risky because the bishop gets activated, so you have to take your time and then play c4. f6, knight into d7, queen into d7, rook a d1. So this is a very strange move, and yesterday Ravi Teja was again asking me like, why get the rook on the same file as the queen? So here I don't think it's correct, but okay, rook a d1 is not a bad move. I think maybe a move like rook f3 would have been better, but maybe had some different plans with c4, I think, because c4 takes and suddenly the d file will be opened. So probably that was his plan. f5. f5 is again very typical. Like, you just have a very similar pawn structure when you don't know what to do. And if you see, the pawn structure is almost the same. Like, just compare the pawn structure. It's almost the same, right? Same goes for black. And now queen f3. So guys, I'm not asking you any questions because like, it's not really like, all the moves that are played are not the best moves. So you can try guessing a few moves later on in the game. So I'm just quickly running through the game. Queen e2. And now can you tell me why he played this move? Any idea? It's black to play, and what was his plan when he played queen e7? Oh, you don't have... Okay. There's no electricity. I think in Thane also, like, many people didn't have electricity today. Bishop exchange. That's fantastic. That's fantastic, Herschel, if you saw this move. Bishop a3 was played. Bishop a1. And now... the thing is, you shouldn't capture here because there's a lot of dark square weakness, and also this knight is hopping here on c3, and then there's a fork, so that's why you play bishop e1. Hi Nerd Junction. Hello Chandan. Yes, I'm playing Samay. Yeah, I'm playing that. It's on 30th, right? Yes, I'm playing that. Bishop b4, and now knight f3. So now if he wants, black can play this move, but you just capture, and if you look at this bishop, it will take some time to come back in its original position, and till then you can have a knight here, you can take a break with g4, have some attacking prospects on h7. So that is why he didn't play knight c3, he played a5 instead. So he just wants to play a4, and it is a good idea to play a4 so that the rook can enter and have some... Hello Aryan, have some prospects. So bishop into e4, d into e4, and now knight e5. So this bishop, it looks as if it's not really working, and it is blocked by its own pawns, but it is like a sleeping monster, guys, and if you get d5, then suddenly the bishop will be really great, because especially because f5 has already been played and there's no f6 move to guard this pawn. So bishop a6, and now c4. So it's almost a forced move because you don't really want to exchange a good knight. Queen e8, king h1. So guys, moves like king h1 are slightly difficult, but if you don't know what is to be done and you realize that all your pieces are working just fine, like the rooks are well placed, you don't want to move them, the bishop is also well placed, you don't want to move it, same goes with the knight, same goes with the queen, and so you realize that everything is perfect, and maybe you can prevent any other checks, maybe on this diagonal later on, or any other threats, or maybe you're preparing for rook g1 and g4. So you just make a silent move like king h1. Yes, correct Herschel. So you just want to play rook g1 and g4. You're right. He just driving his king to safety. Guys, if you have any suggestions, you can ask me, or if you have any doubts, feel free. You can ask me anytime. rook d8. And now can you guess the move, guys? Can you guess white's move here? Any ideas? No junction? Okay, g4. Hello Ravi Teja. Rook g1. Okay, rook g1 is a great move. This is a silent move, but I think for rook g1 he'll just play h5 because he has a queen here and he can prevent it. So that's why. Like, you play g4 because now you're not revealing anything. Knight c6. Ganesh, knight c6 is hanging, otherwise it would be working. Yes, if there was no queen here, then it would be working. Yeah, bishop c3 can be played, but I don't think he will exchange the bishop. He will just go back because he realizes that right now bishop c3 is not working, but if the bishops are exchanged, just imagine there are no bishops here, then this is a bad piece and knight is a good piece. So knight versus this bishop, and this bishop cannot really control the e5 square, so the knight on e5 will stay forever, and a knight in the center is really I mean, center is the best place for knights to be. So bishop c3 is hanging, Avdut. You can just take. Okay, got it. 1 second, guys. I think you mean here. Yeah, bishop c3, I think, alright. Hello, Jansent. But bishop c3 is not working here. I don't know when you mean. And f3, do you mean here? Yeah, got it. So here, if bishop c3, I think, maybe we can anyways take here because that's what he did in the game, and now you have a choice. You can either take here, or maybe you can take this. But the problem is, if you take here, I'm anyways going to play a move like knight e5. When you capture, I can capture with the rook, and you cannot move this knight from here. My knight is going to stay on e5 and the bishop will be always a bad piece. It doesn't really have a great diagonal in the game. Like it will take a long while to reach here, and this is not possible. I mean, usually guys, when this bishop is there and you have a pawn structure like this, knight is really well placed in the center, and if he decides to capture with this, again you can play this move, or yeah, you can play this move. Here you even have a choice of making bishop c3, guys, because you will win a pawn, and you can move the rook here, attack somewhere here. Okay, Avdut, are you crying or are you laughing? So that's why, guys, g4 was played, and g4 is a really nice move. King g1 was a preparatory move to play g4. And suddenly you will realize there is something happening on this diagonal. Like the rook will, there is something going to happen on g7. You cannot, it's not there right now, but it is going to happen soon. You can predict it pretty much. Bishop d6, g into f5, and now he captured bishop into e5. So, okay, he wanted to eliminate the knight, but I think, now can you tell me from which pawn should you capture? Should you capture with this pawn or should you take with this pawn? You can take a guess, all of you. F pawn, okay. Harshal, okay. Any other suggestions, guys? Anyone else? F4 pawn, okay. Ganesh, okay. Guys, you are right. You are absolutely correct. And yeah, Ravi Teja, You're right. Parshuram, yes, white king is safe because you played this king h1 move so that the king is safe, and there is nothing that black can do actually, because black doesn't have enough pieces. He can try to get his queen, but it will take long because queen is controlling the square, and he can try to get his rook, but this pawn kind of controls the square. So I think it is black whose king is not safe now, as you will see in the game, because this bishop doesn't really have an open diagonal. Like, this is a closed pawn structure. Like, the pawn cannot advance because there's a pawn here and there is no f pawn to take a break with f4. So forever it is going to stay like this. So guys, whenever you have a pawn and you don't have your own pawns on its side, for example, there is no d pawn or f pawn, so usually this will be a compact pawn structure. Like, it will just stay like that. There won't be any break with d4 or b4 or f4. Yeah, that's great. That's great. So a into f5 was played, and you can already sense there is already some sort of pawn chain going on here. And if I can manage to play rook g1 and d5, surely this will be an issue. And now, since he has a pawn here, he can take a break, and there can be some threats on the diagonal, but that's it. There won't be anything more than that. But you close the diagonal and play d5. Queen g6, rook g1. Queen g6 was like an invitation, like, you know, just like, anyways, if I didn't even want to play rook g1, I would, because the queen is here. I got it in a tempo. Queen h6, and now e6. So we have the pawn chain, guys. Can you see? It's a huge pawn chain, and you don't really get a pawn chain like this. But okay, g6 was played, and can you suggest a move, guys? A move that wins the game for white. g6 is a horrible mistake, but I think it's forced. The other move would be something like this, but well, I mean, you would still be an exchange down. So g6, and can you tell me the move, guys? It's the winning move here. Till then, I'll just check the score because CSK is playing. Okay, they are having a bad match somehow. 69 for 3. Queen b2. Ganesh, rook g6. Okay, but rook g6 I can take with the pawn. But I see that you like to attack, so you will enjoy the next game. Hello Rahul. Parshuram, yes. Harshal, yes. Avdut, you too. Queen b2 is the correct move, and there is nothing stopping this mate here, and you cannot do anything. So he just played this move, but then queen h8 and checkmate. No, he got this rook, and then queen h8 is a checkmate. So this was played between a 2180 player, George Masana, versus Lunga Mavuzo. But I think black was not that strong player, because he made a lot of mistakes, but still it is a really instructive example because white played really well. Hello Janil. Jaykant, maybe you can just send it to me on DM. That's fine. Or just tell me the names of the player that I can find the game. So guys, Janil, I played against Janil and he plays really well, I remember. Okay, let's see the next one. Let's see the next game. Okay, so this is Mikhail Tal's game, and like, Tal is one of my favorite players. So let's see. It was played between Smyslow and Tal, and give me 1 second. Okay guys, so I just told you that Tal won the game. Actually, Tal lost the game, and This was a really nice game. Just a second. Okay, got it. So Smyslow is white here and Tal is black, and this was played in USSR championship in Moscow, and it was played in the year 1969, so long back. C4, nf6, g3, c5, bishop g2. So this is not really like, it will probably get transposed in d4 if d4 is played. So this is a good way to start if you're playing against someone who is into King's Indian, like with black, if he plays King's Indian, or if he plays like the typical d5 setup, then you can start with c4, try to confuse your opponent, because once you start with c4 you can anytime transpose in d4 in most cases. So g3, c5, okay, not c6, c5, bishop g2, knight c6, knight c3. So this is symmetrical English, because if you see, it's similar, and if he plays g6, that's what he played. So the structure is very similar, like it just mirror the pawn structure at least. Knight f3, bishop g7, castles, and now b3. So guys, I've chosen games where like the structure in itself is very similar, so that you know how to play when your opponent really plays drawish or he keeps repeating your moves, and you know how to break through. So d5 takes, and d5, and now you play bishop b2. So this bishop and this bishop completely dominate the center, because they take away all the major squares in the center, and that's why fianchetto bishops are very popular, and they can control long diagonals. So you're basically giving your bishops the best shot and the best place on the board. Knight into c3, bishop into c3, and now he took here. So I think this was a slight mistake, but I think there's nothing better. Maybe queen c7 could have been played, but anyways the bishops would be exchanged. So takes, queen into d1, rook f into d1, and now bishop f5. So what should you play here, guys? What do you think should be the move? Janil, I remember you played really well one game. Soham, Smyslov is white and Tal is black. Vasily Smyslov versus Tal Mikhail. What should be the move, guys? What do you think? Guys, keep liking the stream, and so that more people join us. Harshal, have you seen the game? Okay, guys, you're suggesting great moves. So if you saw that the knight is kind of causing a hindrance for the bishop, that's great. Knight h4 was played. Soham, Harshal, you both are correct. So you just threaten to capture capture f5, or you threaten to capture on c6 and ruin his pawn structure, and also you're threatening a move like rook d2 and rook d1. थैंक यू जयकांत, पक्का मैं वो दिखा दूंगी कल गेम. So bishop e6 was played, and now what do we do? Since we have played knight h4, what to do now? Ravi Teja, knight g5 was also possible, but it wasn't as threatening as knight h4. But yes, knight g5 was possible. Yes, bishop c6 is the move. And now, guys, as I mentioned, the pawn structure is ruined, and all you have to do is play against this pawn structure. And yes, Ravi Teja, you're correct. And you have to make sure that black doesn't get to, exchange this pawn with this pawn, or maybe play something like a5, a4, and exchange a few pawns, because if the majority is exchanged, then it will be really difficult to win the game. Like if you want to win with white, then you shouldn't allow something like a5 and a4, or you shouldn't allow black to regroup his pieces and pawns. So now knight f3, a good move, you're threatening this. So obviously black plays f6, he sees the threat, so he prevents it. And now what do? How can you further give a threat? This is slightly difficult, but try to guess. You can take your time, guys. This is slightly difficult. c4. Ravi Teja, c4 is a good move, but right now c4, I think he will just play bishop g4 and he will take advantage of this pin here, and he will just take, and then rook goes to d8, exchange everything, and in a rook ending it will be really difficult to play against this. I don't think you can win that easily, because the king is pretty close to the pawns. It's not like king is far away. If the king can reach to e6, it can completely prevent white's entrance on d7. Okay, Janil says e4. Janil, e4, bishop g4. That is the problem. Soham, that's a good maneuver. Knight e1 and knight d3. But knight e1, again he'll play this c4 move, and then you will again have to move the knight. But knight e1, the idea is correct. You're correct. You're very close. So it's correct that you have to do something with the knight. But where do you think should the knight belong? Doubling of rook, okay. That's a good idea, but there is no entry, Janil. Like this square, this square, this square, this square, it's all taken away. h3 is hanging. Avdut. g5. Okay, h4 can be played because it's interesting, but again this is the problem, so you have to defend against that, and that's why he played knight d2. So Harshal, Soham and Ravi Teja, you are all correct, all of you. Janil, we don't have to exchange this, because if we do, there's no weakness in black's position. We gave up the bishops just so that black will have double pawns. So we have to make sure that he has the double pawns. Like you don't want to take them away. Knight d2 is correct, yeah. So the idea is to prevent a move like this, and you want to go here, and you have also prevented this move. So you made a lot of problems for black here, because bishop g4 was something that he was banking on, but that is not possible now. Okay, you're talking about cricket. I got confused. Abdut, you're correct. Principally, you're correct, but rook f d8, I can move the knight. It's not really a pin. Like, it's not an absolute pin. So, I can move the knight. And if you take, I will take. And this pawn cannot really be protected with this bishop because it's on the opposite color. So c4 is played, and now you play knight c5. So you're not really worried about pushing the pawn right now. Once he moves the bishop, he will have to decide first if he has to move here or here. And mostly bishop f5 is slightly better, I feel, but bishop f7, then you can play this maybe. Yes, if he doesn't play rook d8, then he will get the open file very easily. You're right. Rook would just enter here if there was no rook on d8. So rook d8 is necessary. No, I'm just showing a variation. This didn't happen in the game. He played bishop f5, but bishop f7, then you just push a pawn, and you're absolutely fine. And now, can you tell me what should be the move here? So first you will have to tell me what is white threatening, and then to that move there is some refutation, so then you have to think again. Okay, till then I'll just quickly check the score. b4, okay, b4 is a nice move. But before, can you see that black is trying to play bishop c2 so that he can attack here and he can force you to exchange or move the rook. So if before bishop c2, you will have to move the rook and then he will have an entrance on d2, or if you exchange the rook, then takes, and still this d2 square is pretty critical. So what do you play here instead of b4? e4. Alright, e4 idea is correct, but e4, bishop g4 is the plan. So now you know the information now, and so now is the time to think with all the information that you know, and how can you prevent something that is happening. Rook a c1. Soham, that's a really nice move. But I think there is something slightly better. Some sort of prophylaxis required. And this bishop, if you see, it's not in the best position. It's not safe. If I can get something like e4, h3, g4, like if there is no square for the g4, square on g4, then this bishop is sort of trapped. So I have given you the hint. g4 is too aggressive, but yes, g4 can be one plan after that move is played. So guys, you know that you want to play e4, but bishop g4 is the problem. So how do you prevent that first? So Ham, you're right. Yeah, perfect. f3 Raviteja, you two are correct. So f3 is the move, guys. So now you're threatening this move. Now you're threatening more move like g4. And now if he plays bishop c2, this goes here, or you can even takes, and you can play rook c1, rook d2, king moves, and the king enters somehow. Or the other option that you have is rook d8, first play king f2, and if he plays this, then you can just move here. And now he is slightly in some issue now, because rook d1, you just take, and I think you can play king e1. Yeah, king e1, bishop c2. Okay, wait, let's not play that. Let's play a move like bc4. So this is slightly different. Or let's play a move like e4. So when this is played, you get king e2, and this bishop is already trapped, guys. If you see, if you look close, this bishop is having some problems. Bishop b1 can be played, but then I think you can just play this move, or maybe you can even play this. I don't know how will the bishop ever come out from here, like to the normal black side, because there's no diagonal to go back. That's the problem. But yes, Soham, your suggestion was really nice, and that's what happened in the game. So king f2, king f7, this is what happened. And now can you tell me the move, guys? And now is the time to play something which you've mentioned before. Rook c1, rook d1. 1 second. I'll check. Do you mean here? Rook d1? Yeah, you just take and king. Get the king. Yeah. Okay, king f7. And now you play b4. You're right, Soham. Rook c1 was also a possibility, right, guys? And you play b4 because this bishop cannot go back. It just has this one square and this one, so it's trapped. Unless you play g5, bishop has no scope to go back. King e1 is played, so that okay, bishop f5, king e1 is played, so that you can exchange. And once the rooks are exchanged, the knight on c5 is very strong, And usually in bishop versus knight endgames, guys, you need an outpost for the knight. So knight on c5 is already on the outpost, and even though there are pawns on both the sides, it's still better for white here, because the pawns are really scattered like this. Too many pawn islands for black. DC is Deccan Chargers, right? No, okay, Delhi something, right. The teams got changed. Raviteja outpost is a square for the knight from where it cannot be moved by any other piece, like any other pawns. So there are no pawns here to move this, so that's why it's an outpost. And if you look at, there are 2-3 definitions of outpost. This is one, but other one is that if you have an open file, and if you have a knight that is here and a rook that is here, and the knight is supported by a pawn, and then it can be called as an outpost. I'll show you an example later on, that will be better, because this is not the position to explain the other example of outpost. Don't worry, Jaykant, CSK will win, let's hope. Dhoni is still there, right? Hello Shiva Krishna. Okay, so basically you can evaluate the position. So strategically, first is king safety, because if your king is not safe, you're going to lose. Then second one is the space and pawn structure. So pawn structure and space is pretty much on the same level. And then the third one is, or third or fourth one is the piece placement, because pieces are something that can be improved. So that is not really a major thing, because you can keep improving them. You cannot really improve your king safety, because if your king is exposed, then you cannot really have an artificial pawn cover. So king safety, then space and pawn structure. Pawn structure, because as you can see right now, even with no other pieces, it still would be slightly dubious for black. And when pawns don't work in harmony, they form a lot of weak squares. So those squares can be used as a pivot. Pivot is basically an important square for your own pieces. So that is there. And then the piece placement, or maybe material imbalances or other things that happen. So first one is king safety, second one is space and pawn structure, and the third one is piece placement. Yeah, like so here right now white is better, because this knight cannot be moved away with this bishop, because bishop is a light square bishop and you have a knight on the dark square. So if you just try to logically figure out things, it will be very easy. Try to reason the moves, guys. So now white played king e1, so you can try to reason it. Why did he play king e1? So maybe he wants to play rook d1, or maybe he wants to play a move like e4. So when you ask yourself questions, then you will obviously improve, because you are improving your reasoning. Okay, that's too deep, I think, but it will be helpful for you guys. Okay, e5 was played. e5 is an okay move, so you are taking away this square from the knight. Okay, happy to help Shiva Krishna. And now you play knight b7. So this is what Harshal suggested long back, but now is the time to play this, because this square has been weakened. So finally the knight can jump here, and initially this was not played, but now it is. And now can you tell me a move which is completely winning? It is definitely winning some material. You can take your time, guys. Soham, you are right. Knight a5. Knight a5 is the move, and now you are attacking two pawns and you are going to win one of them. c5 is played, and now you have a choice. So do you capture this pawn or do you capture this pawn? Now there is a logical reason for capturing each pawn. So can you try to tell me which pawn should be captured and why? Knight a5 is correct, guys. Harshal, Janil, you both are correct. Okay, knight c4. All right. Any other suggestions, guys? You mean okay, knight c4. All right. Any other suggestions? Anyone else who wants to? b5. Okay. Pawn capture. Which pawn, Harshal? Both the pawns are being captured. So which pawn? b5 is interesting, but okay, b5, I like the move, but I think I'm afraid if a6 can be played. I'm not sure. a6, you will play b6. Okay, you won't capture. Maybe I'll play a move like rook d6, or I don't know, maybe a move like bishop c2. So if you take, I go bishop a4, maybe b6 is the problem again. Then you play this, maybe something on those lines. I like the move b5. In fact, I liked it. b5, bishop e6. Yes. Okay, Ravi Teja, you are right. You will anyway get the pawn on c4. That's why you should take this pawn first. And also, guys, this is a pawn that is on the opposite color of the bishop. So why destroy the pawn that is on the same color of the bishop? Because it is kind of blocking black's bishop, right? So like it is preventing its own bishop from getting a good diagonal. So there is no good diagonal because of this pawn. So that's why you don't take the c4 pawn first. You take the c5, and later maybe you can take this pawn. It's up to you after all. Because this you can play c6, and then a big maneuver like rook d1, rook d2, rook b2, and then rook b7. Because rook b1 is directly not possible. Or if you can play e4 and rook b1. Yeah, it kind of ruins the pawn structure, but you are winning a pawn right now, so that's fine because it's an extra pawn. Yeah, the pawn push won't be stopped now. So rook d5 was played, and white played knight b7. So now if this is played, then you again go c6 here, and you get the same position almost that was there. But here knight d6 was played instead of c6. He had slightly different plan. King here. And now can you tell me the move, guys? So you want the rook to be somewhere, and for that what do you require? There are two things that you require. Two things that can be possible, in fact. Harshal, Avdut, Jaykant, Soham, Ravi Teja. Anyone? Shiva Krishna. Rook d1. Okay. Rook d1. Knight c8. Okay. Knight c8. This is not hanging yet. So knight is okay on d6 for now, Janil. But yes, it can be played later on. Rook d1 is a good move. But guys, this file is open. So how do you get the rook on this file? Yeah, knight f5 could be like destroying the defender of b1 square. But knight is better than the bishop in this square, this position. e4. Yes, e4 is a good move. But e4 weakens your d3 square, so you don't want to give away this square. So that's why he played g4. Okay, idea is same, guys. e4 is correct if you thought there is no problem with e4, but g4 is slightly better. And a4, Soham, a4 is a possibility. Maybe you want to go something like this, and get the rook from a5, b5 to b7. That's a great maneuver if you saw this. It can be played, but I think he had something else in the mind. And Smyslov was a very positional player. He would, not positional, but he would take care of things, and he would just try to identify what is the problem, and he would slowly and patiently get rid of it. So this bishop is the issue, and so you play g4, bishop e6, and now finally you get rook b1. So he has improved the knight. He maneuvered it a lot. So this knight went from here to here to here, this, go back, and knight d6 finally. So this knight has moved a lot in the game, and this rook has made just one move, but finally the knight will help the rook, and rook will go to b8 or b7 depending on where this rook is. So rook c7 was played. You just exchange because you're a pawn up, and there is no way in which black can actually attack here, because if you play something like this, I'll just play this. There is no entrance for the king to attack. If you see, there's no way to get in, no way at all. Like this is there, but then I'll play e4. So this pawn is untouchable, guys. It's completely untouchable. Your knight d6 works. Can you tell me what happens if king c6? Anyone? Yeah, a4 is slightly slow, Soham. Yep, you're right. Okay. Knight e4, alright. Knight e8, okay. Guys, if you just look at the position, you don't have to hurry here, because he can't really take here, because if he takes, then you have knight e4, knight f6. So you don't have to worry about anything. You can just move your king here. A simple move, but it works. Knight e8 is interesting, but make sure that your knight doesn't get trapped here, because I once lost a game, and the game was completely drawn, and we were just making moves, and I played one knight move on the 8th rank, and suddenly my knight was trapped, and I couldn't do anything, and I lost the game. So knight e8, I think knight e8, I'll just play this move. And now you want to play knight g7, I think. But I'll just play bishop c8, takes and takes. So this knight is again slightly trapped, guys. So you have to be aware and alert. Okay, so here knight d6 and h6 was played. So king f2, king c6, king e3, a5. They are making normal moves. Again, this is not really touchable because you have this. Yeah, Shiva Krishna. Correct. So knight e8 finally. And the difference is that king is going to support the knight here now, because initially the king was behind, but now king is here. So if you play a move like f5 and now this, there is no pawn here firstly, and there's no pawn here, so it's going to cause some issues. You will see bishop d7, gf5 takes, and now you have this f4 move. So f4 kind of softens this d4 square, because if he pushes the pawn, you get king d4, you protect the pawn here. Yeah, bishop d7 is correct, but king d5 is played. And now what do you play, guys? This is an important move, a very important move in the game, and I think Tal missed this. Usually Tal doesn't miss any moves, but think he missed it. Soham, you're correct, absolutely correct. Because c6, if he takes with the king, he loses this pawn, and if he takes with the bishop, you take this pawn. So you basically use the idea that both the pieces are overloaded and you take advantage of it. Yeah, this was slightly hard. Yeah, Harshal, you're correct, c6. But c6, bishop c8 was played, so he decides not to take the pawn, and he wants to keep this and this pawn protected. And now what do you do? Okay, I'll check the score, guys. Till then, I am really excited about the match. I don't know what's going to happen. I think now CSK is losing. Okay, back to the game. c7 is correct. Yes, c7 is correct. Waiting was not required here, Janil, because c7 is kind of putting your opponent in zugzwang. Yeah, Raviteja, it's like a zugzwang, right? Because if you move the king, then maybe I have a move like this. So it's kind of strange for black to defend here. King d6, you can even go h4 because he still cannot capture. Like, that c6 pawn is like an extra pawn, firstly, and you can give it away anytime and take any of the pawns. So soon there'll be like a zugzwang. As you can see, there are no moves left, and h5 then I can take. So it's a zugzwang. If this move, then I think you can just move ahead with the pawn, or you can even, I'm not sure, but you can go knight e8 maybe. But okay, I think h5 is good. What if he takes first and moves? You mean here? But here my king will move to d4, and I'll also take this pawn, or I'll go king f4 and take this pawn. So that's the problem. Pawn takes pawn first. You mean here? I'll take the pawn, king d6, and I'll win your pawn on f5. Because this is a more critical pawn, and more critical is h6, because I'll have an outside passed pawn and I'll win the game. If you have any doubts, you can ask, guys. Yeah, it is not, but there are a few tricks. If you can remember the concepts, then you can play the endgame well, because you cannot really quickly judge the endgame. It takes a lot of practice to judge the endgame position, because there's a lot of empty space in the board, right? So few pieces and lot of squares which they can occupy. Thank you, Soham. Hello, Gautam. Okay, till then I'll check the score. If you have any doubts or if you have any questions, do ask, guys, and keep liking the stream so that more people join us. Yes, king and even the knight. I think the knight jumped a lot. Like, as much as I can remember, the knight moved from here to here. Then we got the exchange. We exchanged the bishop. We came back. Knight d2. Then knight e4. Knight c5. Then we played knight b7. Knight a5. Instead of capturing, we went knight b7. Knight d6. Then we waited, we played this move, knight g7, and then knight f5. So just imagine, like, the knight moved a lot. So guys, you can challenge your memory like this. Whenever you see a game, just try to recall where the piece has moved. Like, it's kind of a funny exercise, which I really like. So you can do that too. Shiva Krishna, first of all, always consider checks, then captures and threats. Usually, whenever, like, it can be in opening, end game, middle game, anytime you have candidate moves, you have to check capture and threat. Like, you have to check the checks, captures, and threats, and after that is done, then you can choose like which piece is not working or which piece can be improved. Should you improve the king first, or should you improve your pawn structure first, or like you even have to evaluate what your opponent is trying to do. If you can recognize his plans, then you can try to avoid them. You can use the technique called prophylaxis, which is basically preventing your opponent's ideas. And when you're done doing that, I think you will have a good result anyways, because your opponent will be really suffocated. He will be like, he's just trying to make a plan and you're not even letting him make a plan. So that is very disturbing psychologically, and you can use that. So for instance, let me just quickly go back. I'll show you. Okay, so one second. So this move was prophylaxis, because e4, your opponent was planning to play a move like bishop g4 and take advantage of the light squares, weaken light squares. But you realize that, and you realize what your opponent's plan is, so you play f3 first. And you're not really weakening anything, you're not committing anything, and you're still preventing his plans. So in his mind, he will be confused, because now you have again two plans, g4 and e4. Harshal, yes. So f3 is a typical prophylactic move. Any other questions, guys? Yes, Harshal, you are right. CSK lost. Okay. That is fine, Shiva Krishna, to start with. 2-3 moves is not bad. But I think what else you can do is you can tell anyone at your home to kind of announce the answers to you and try to visualize the board. Like, don't try to calculate and visualize. Just tell someone to tell you the moves, or read out the moves. Like, if you have a chess book, just read the notation. For example, I know like f3, bishop c2, and so I am not making the moves, I am just reading it, or maybe I am telling someone to announce the moves and I am calculating it in my head, and that works wonders. So you will definitely improve the visualization. The problem is that we are not used to see positions after 3-4 moves. So if you are made to see the moves, like if you are kind of told by someone else, you can easily figure out the moves. Yeah, you don't have to calculate long variations at the start, but gradually, maybe if you can see 3 moves right now, maybe you can, on the next day you can try to see 4 or 5 moves. Like, you can gradually improve. Yes, you're right. So the best thing that you can learn is trying to find your opponent's plan and then preventing that. Yeah, pawn endgames are slightly trickier, guys, because pawn endgames have long variations, because you have to calculate if you are queening first or your opponent is queening first. And like, pawn endgames are difficult, but usually pawn endgames are like in one line. The variations are without any sub variations. So there's one long variation, but okay, I'll just show you something. 1 second. Okay, let me just put some random position. Okay, so who do you think will win here? It is white to play. And and we won't make any moves. You can try to calculate, like if I announce the move, just keep it in your head and try to calculate. Can you see the board, guys? Black, okay, all right, okay, black, okay, white, this is easy, okay. You think it's a win? Okay, let's see. So guys, I'm not making a move. Try to calculate. A4. So I'm playing A4, H5, A5, H4, A6, H3, A7, H2, and now I'll play King B7. So A8 is obviously a mistake because then you will lose the queen. But I will play a move like King B7 and it's a draw. It's yeah, Jaykant. It's a draw after. So I'll now show the. Yeah, it's tricky, guys. I didn't give you a easy position. It just looks easy. Okay, so Shiva Krishna and like anyone who has this problem. So right now I was just announcing the moves, but you could figure it out, right? You could calculate in your head. So you could see so many moves in your head. So just use the same technique, and over a period of time, like right now you calculated like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You calculated 5 moves right now in your head without me making any moves. And I know there are not any other pieces on the board, so it's easy to calculate or visualize. But start with the basic positions and I'm sure you'll improve. So I'll just show you A4. No, but you don't make a queen, right? You just play this move. You don't make a queen. You are not really in a hurry, right? How do you win this? The king is way too far away. The king should be, I think, like this. It should be like 1. If the king was in these squares, black king, then it was winning. But it's not, so yeah, it is to yeah, but still, like try to imagine the position, because what happens, like if you calculate and if you can't remember where the pieces are, then it is more related to memory. It is not related to calculation as such. So maybe you can try to read books, like books which have positions, and then there's notation written down, or if you see any articles on net, then you can see the position and there are notations given down. So just read the notation and try to check out the position, because once you start seeing the position in your head a bit, obviously you will get an idea, like, and while calculating, you slowly you will become better at it. Too much information, I think, but it works. I had some issues. I could calculate long variations, but I couldn't calculate the sub variations. But after a lot of practice, you can even check the sub variations. Yeah, black can't win. Black cannot win. This is a draw, guys. So if the king was here, one second. Yeah, and if it's black to play, then it's then you can win this. Yeah, because the king moves here or here. You play the queen here, king again, and then you play this move. So whenever he queens, then you have this, not this, queen c7 checkmate. The point is that you need access to these two squares, guys. Like, you can get the king anywhere where it has access to these two squares and it will be winning for you. So that's why this diagram is there. Like, so anywhere in this, for example, anywhere here, if the king is, then you can win the game. Even here, in fact. Yeah, rating is just a number, guys. Just a number. Shah Krishna 1400 is not a bad rating. Any other doubts, guys? You can ask me anything. CSK lost, and it lost by 44 runs. Oh my god, that's a huge margin. I think there's no Raina this time, so this one. Okay, there are a few positions in the end game that you need to know. So for me, like, just try to figure out how will you mate. So these two squares, how did I figure out about this is basically you keep playing, and for example, this king is somewhere else. 1 second. So this king is, for instance, here. Okay. So now what you do is you play this move, queens, and you can get access to b6. So again, this is going to be winning for you. Acha, okay, you sent FEN. Alright, I don't know how will I check the FEN. 1 second. One second. Give me a moment, guys. Hello, Vishu. Give me a moment, guys. Hi, Siddhant. One second, guys. Okay, so this is the position, right? Yeah. Okay, so I think here it is difficult to calculate, but you will have to, like, you can maybe see king d5, then FEN is basically you can paste a position anywhere, similar to PGN. Siddhant, this is probably a draw, but I'm not sure. Okay, Avdut. Guys, Siddhant is an international master, so he's in the chat. So king d5, that is the first thing that comes to my mind, so that the king is close to the pawns and also can have some prospects here, because king is way too far away from the pawns otherwise. So king d5 looks normal. And now I think maybe a move like f6 would be wrong, because you can play this move, or you can even play f5, because if he takes and this move, then you will get the pawn. Yeah, even I think it's winning now. Yeah, even I think so. After king d5 it looks winning somehow, because there's some sort of zugzwang, right? The king cannot really move. If the king moves, then you get king d6, king e8, and then you play f5, I guess. or g5. 1 second. जयकांत, यस, सिद्धांत मेरा और नुबैर दोनों का दोस्त है. यहाँ पे आई थिंक F5 आ रहा है, राइट? आई थिंक सो, F5, क्योंकि अगेन इफ द किंग मूव्स तो मार सकते हो एंड द किंग रीचेस वेरी क्विकली हर एंड यू हैव दिस typical position. So maybe the king can go back, but then king d7 आ जाएगा, I think. Yeah, king d7. King moves here. Actually, Shiva Krishna, this is slightly difficult to calculate from the initial position, but you will have to like see it in your head, like king d5, getting the king close. Then what can he do? He has 3 options. I think he can play this, f5 or king f8. Looks like the main moves. And then you can try one by one. So f5 is one move, and you can either play g5. I think you will have to play this because this would be a mistake. Takes, king moves here, then king moves here, this takes, and this. So now he has the opposition. Hello Shashwata, is it better now? कालचन और अनीश गिरी था, राइट? आज okay, that's great, Shashwata. So I think the second one would be to get the king here. That is another option, additional. But here I think king d6 works. I'm not sure. So king d5, king f6 looks slightly strange to me, but I think it can be played. King d6, king g7, king e7, and now king moves back. So you have to see it in your head when you play a move like king d5, but I think king d5 is a natural move, so you can play it anyways. When he plays a move like king f6, then you can think if you want to play king d6 or you want to play king e4. Just make sure that you don't push the pawn, because then this is weak. I am Perumal. Yes, I play on Wednesday. I play on Wednesday against the subscribers. Yeah, king f6 looks good, I think, because it prevents king's entry from here, also prevents any pawn advance, and king d6 can be other thing. Shashwata, firstly, that's great if you want to learn chess. Maybe you can try to solve basic puzzles like mate in one, or like if you don't know anything about chess, then like you will have to learn the basics. Like you can learn which pieces value what and how pieces move and things like that, and then you can look at a few basic endgames, like not endgames but how you win with 2 rooks. Then you can like just elementary checkmates with 2 rooks or elementary checkmate with 1 rook. So those basics you can see, and then you can go and check out a few tactics like mate in one and etc. So I stream 10 at 10 every day, guys, and you can join me too. सिद्धांत, किंग d5 को किंग f6 आ रहा है शायद. किंग f6 के बाद एंट्री डिफिकल्ट लग रही है. आई एम नॉट श्योर. किंग d6 आई थॉट फर्स्ट ही लग रहा है. किंग d6. दैट्स ग्रेट Okay, pawns I can't play, so I'll have to move the king. Thank you, Shiva Krishna. King e5 नहीं आ रहा अवधूत actually. King d6, yeah, I played king d6, but hello Pradeep. Hello. King d6 के बाद king g7 चला जाएगा ना. Entry का है. You make this move, I'll just play. f5 is not working. Okay, I think so. f5 को g5 आ जाएगा, but I can play king g8. प्रोग्रेस कैसे करोगे? लाइक यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम वो है बिकॉज दिस okay, king e5 here. Here it is black to play Avdut. King e7, okay. Okay. King f6, king d6, king g7, king e7, king g8. Guys, Siddhant Mohapatra is an international master who's with us in the live chat, and we are discussing if this position is a winning position or is it a draw. Now king d7, king h7. अच्छा, king h7 को will play g5 क्या? No. Yeah, king e8, king g8 position. Okay, so now I can play king h8 maybe. So I have access to this square, this square. Like if you play g5, then I have king h7, so I have a position, and then if you play king d8, then I can play king h7 again. Avdut, I'll go back. Just 1 minute. Just a moment, guys. We are checking out if this is a winning position or is it better for white. Yeah, it looks draw, but usually in pawn endgames, tempos matter. Like the material can be equal, but sometimes it's like if you have your chance and if you make a move, then you can lose, and the same goes for your opponent. So if he makes a move, then you can also win. King d8 खेल दिया सिद्धांत. I think you can see. I mean, ये डिफ़िकल्ट है जज करना ओरिजिनल पोजीशन से, बट किंग e7 को वापस किंग g7 आया तो किंग e8 आ जाएगा, राइट? या सो फॉर किंग e7 आई हैव टू प्ले किंग g8 बिकॉज वरना जुगजवांग आ जाएगा ना. किंग g7, किंग e8 एंड देन किंग g8. सो गाइज, यू आर एमिंग फॉर अ पोजिशन लाइक दिस, and if you get this and you can take a break from here, then white will win. So that's why you don't allow white to play that. You play king g8 first, so that here it's your move and you get to play king g7. So f5 takes, and now you can play king f6. King h8 को f5 here. g5 नहीं आ रहा ना अभी. g5 को f6. या Yeah, maybe. So this is winning, guys, and you might be wondering what is happening with the evaluation bar, because never trust the engines, guys. It can show anything. Yeah. King G8 को King E7 चल रहा है. You're right. Correct. इधर भी you're right. Ayam Perumal, you can study the book called My System by Aaron Nimzosh. It is a good book for your reading. So guys, this is winning for white, but it is very complicated to check from this position, and you can calculate, but it will take you a lot of time. Like, thank you, Sudhant. Yeah, this is winning. So this is not working, guys, because as Siddhant mentioned, King G8, and now you play King D8, right? No, King D7. Yeah, King D7, King H8, and then F5. Okay, guys, so this was it for today. If you have any doubts, you can ask me, or we'll end the stream for today. Yeah, King E8, correct. Bye, Vishupari. Okay, guys, so I'll see you tomorrow at 10, and let's see what to do tomorrow. Let's see. We'll probably analyze another game. So thank you for joining, guys. Yeah, some deep correspondence quest theme. Yeah. Very deep puzzle. I play on chess.com. Ayam Perumal. King E8 here. Okay. Correspondence is basically for one square you have another pair of corresponding square, and like for instance, one second. So here, like as he mentioned, if I get king on e8, and if it is white to play, then f5 would win. So something like that. So this and this becomes a corresponding square, and for instance, king d7, right now there is no square. Maybe I'll show you tomorrow like the exact example on corresponding square. Pradeep, I'll show tomorrow for sure. Thank you, Parshuram. Good night, Siddhant. Good night, guys. Thank you for joining. Take care. Bye, guys.